Hey everybody, it is the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up, and we have a pile of people here today. I'm Scott. This is John. Hello, John. John has a whole shelf dedicated to failed ASP.NET books on his shelf.
They're great. It's like you wrote one of those.
I know. I keep mine on a lower shelf. And then Damien has friends today.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Who are your friends, Damien?
I don't know. They just walked in and they overpowered me and sat down. I can't really do much about it. One of them is Anthony and one of them is Nick, and I can never remember.
I can't keep track of them. And
I would say this is Anthony and this is Nick. And
I always assume that they're both Australian as well.
Well, you'd be half right.
One of us had the chutzpah to leave the British Empire.
Damien, did you ever hear about the waitress?
Are you going to tell a joke, or are you trying to...
It wasn't a joke. It was an actual that was there.
No, maybe?
Needless to say, it was a bad accent moment. Don't know how many Australians should attempt to...
She didn't believe he was from Australia. She thought he was doing an accent.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so I learned a valuable lesson. Anthony does not do accents.
That's hilarious.
You were doing your own voice, though.
Yeah, I gave up on it.
I think I love your accent. Okay, so why are you here? Did people read the blog post? Is that out yet?
Yeah, the blog posts are now out. And essentially, for those who haven't heard it yet, Glimpse and Microsoft are now officially partnering to work on diagnostics for the web. And so what that means is Microsoft has taken over sponsorship of the Glimpse project. So the Glimpse project is still independent, still a separate entity and whatever else, but Microsoft has kindly taken over the sponsorship from Redgate, who's been sponsoring us for the last few years. And so that means we get to do all sorts of cool things.
So how does that work when you're sponsored? Because like with Redgate, you had a job, like you were an employee of Redgate, and it was through that being employee they were sponsoring the thing, right? Because you could be having a regular job and doing open source, and that would be being a volunteer. So when a company sponsors you, that means they're hiring you and saying, keep doing what you're doing, we think you're great.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the same as what we're doing here. And it turns out in Redgate's case, it was the easiest thing. Rather than just handing two random guys a pile of money, it was easier to say, hey, look, we'll actually bring you on as full-time employees. You get health benefits, all that sort of stuff, and we'll let you keep being awesome. And so essentially a similar sort of thing with Microsoft. We're a part of the cross-platform and open tools group, and so our mandate is kind of to develop tools which are cross-platform, open, all this sort of stuff, and Glimpse fits right into that mandate. And so.
And did you guys take the same job? Do you have different jobs?
So I'm a PM on the team, and Anthony is a dev on the team.
Okay, and that means you arm wrestle on a regular basis, I assume.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because previously we didn't have, let's say, that distinctive role differences, but given larger organizations and stuff like that, we're now taking on slightly different roles and whatever else. And, over time, if the team expands or anything like that, that'll be, that'll help with that, so.
Cool. You sound extremely thrilled to be here. Almost not at all.
Well, it's just to point out, it's a morning stand-up, and there's always...
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to sit here and just be, like, monotone.
I am so excited to be working for Microsoft.
So sorry.
I could tickle him if you think it would help. Maybe he'd get him excited.
This is as excited as I've ever seen him.
No, trust me, I am really, really excited. I feel very privileged to be here because there's a lot of open source projects out there, and I just feel extremely lucky that we were spotted, by yourself and crew, at Mix11.
Oh, do you remember that Mix11?
Yeah.
So John Papa put on the Open Source Fest. Is that what it was called?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I remember walking around. I think I even had a project at the Open Source Fest. It was Webforms MVP or something at that time. And then Phil Hack grabs me and says, Damien, you got to come over and see this thing, glimpse, something, whatever it is, and we run over and he shows me this thing, and it's like, oh my god, this is gonna change the world. So yeah, and now we are what, 5 years later.
Yeah,
And,
pretty much.
Yeah, we're all sitting at the same table, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're also at the same table all the time though, because we're staying remote.
Yes.
I'm on the East Coast, New York City, doing the remote thing.
And I'm on the West Coast.
So what does this mean to ASP.NET 5 then?
That's a great question. So at the moment, our current efforts have been solely focused around Glimpse v2, which Glimpse v2 is all about support for ASP.NET 5 and vNext and all this sort of stuff, because we actually tried to take Glimpse v1 and port it to vNext, and just in our particular case, if we tried to take that same code base and make it work for like classic ASP.NET, ASP.NET 5, Mono, and all these different, it was just way too many abstractions and it was getting way too complex. And so it's like, okay, we can clean up some of our legacy base and start working from scratch on ASP.NET 5, and it was much simpler. It's a really beautiful code base to write with. The guys have done a really good job. And so what does it mean? We're still working through this stuff in terms of exactly how that comes out, but I know from our part, we're focused on trying to make sure that of any platform out there, that ASP.NET 5 has the best debugging and diagnostics experience as possible. And so, and also trying to make sure that, the different hooks that anyone could possibly, dream of, from a debugging and diagnostics point of view, they're, and available to everyone and not just to glimpse a project, as it were. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Cool. I think that Chrome is locked up. Can you all see me?
No. We can hear you.
You can hear me though.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. Like it says pages unresponsive. Like
nice.
I didn't know that. If I close this, I think the Hangout will go away. And I don't know if it's broadcasting anymore, and I don't know if
I think it just shows your avatar with the circles going out, which is kind of a nice effect.
Thank you.
I mean,
it still says it's live, so maybe we just continue with that assumption for now. And if it doesn't, then no one will ever see this, and it'll go into like urban legend as the stand-up that was never seen by anybody.
Like, the extras on the set.
I don't know.
you can reveal your secret identity
It'll be a B-side.
as alt.net Perspied or whatever.
How is it still going? I don't understand.
Isn't that like when you have a link call and then the main client crashes and then the link call continues?
Oh, wow. So the memory for this tab is 2.2 gigs, and it's going up 50 gigs every second.
50 megs, you mean?
50
Or megs, rather. More megs than it needs to.
That sounds about right for Chrome, actually.
I am going to run out of memory.
So you can't leave and join again?
And I can't. No, because I'm the one that started it.
Oh, doesn't it exist without you being in it after you started?
Do you have the invitation? If I close this, it's going away.
No, because I clicked on the little pop-up in Gmail.
Yeah. I'm going to close Outlook and everything.
Okay.
and wait. Okay, it's still going, but he's gone. I think we just proved something works.
Oh, he's totally gone. Maybe oh, wow. Can we invite him back?
Maybe. Okay.
You know how to use this thing?
Has anyone on Twitter said it's still going?
Yeah, it's up there. John says you can see. Hear but not see. John, I'm relying on you. Can you invite Scott back?
I'll see what I can do.
I am. What's that? Oh, that's an app. That doesn't help me.
Okay. This is
so
sorry.
professional. People are now laughing at us in the Q&A. This is spectacular. I wonder if I can go back to Gmail and add Scott back to his own.
Okay. He says it's hung.
All you should need is the administrative link, isn't it? Like the
yeah, but I don't think anyone actually saved that. Unless...
Oh, Scott Hanselman joined this video call.
Ooh. Oh.
And?
Scott, are you there? Scott, are you there?
We should have built this on Silverlight streaming.
This is why we don't have guests. So I see Scott's head, but that's about it. Something. No one. I don't see. It didn't even send me an email today because I clicked on the pop-up. So I don't have an invitation link. This is a great platform.
And the sad thing is, it's probably the best one.
Yeah.
Share that URL.
It's like democracy. Which URL?
URL location bar.
Yeah, we could try.
It's the best thing we got.
Let's do this. Let's go to the back panel.
Double Scott.
We have two Scots.
There we go.
We got two Scots.
There he is.
The other one's
How did you get back in?
I copied the giant URL in this thing here into the clipboard and rebooted and then came back.
Hey, that's
It
what we're
works.
doing.
Recompiled the kernel.
This is the most exciting stand-up ever.
I think we need to get any news out of the, or any glimpse business out of the way before it catches on fire.
We should get something out of the way.
All right, so I have some news.
Pause for effect.
I was waiting for acknowledgement, but that's fine.
Oh.
He's joining the glimpse team.
News, you say?
News, you say? Yes. So the schedule that I've been kicking around in the last few stand-ups is now locked.
Is this the one that you keep dodging when I ask?
The one that I keep denying existence of. The one that I keep saying, if you repeat this anywhere, I will cease doing the stand-up and burn all the URLs.
And then I pretend to not know what's going on and see if I can to say it.
Yes. So that is now locked. We will have the current plan is to have a RC release candidate with a go live license, meaning it's production ready in mid-November of this year, 2015. So the betas that I talked about are still on the cards. Beta 6 will come out in 2 weeks from now at the end of this month. Then we'll have Beta 7 at the end of August, Beta 8 at the end of September, and then there'll be a slightly longer period while we prepare and push through the RC release for mid-November.
So let me see if I understand. I can go live on Linux for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
With an RC.
Yes.
Print the T-shirts now.
I don't think I understand.
So if you're someone who doesn't run Windows on your servers, but you would like to use ASP, this is getting ridiculous. Yes, it'll be go live on all 3 platforms for development and production in mid-November. So it doesn't mean that every feature that you want will be there. The scope will be adjusted accordingly to ensure that we hit that date. Now that we're in this mode. What's that? I'll go live. You'll be able to go live with Hello World. Yes, maybe even serialize some JSON.
But that's the real thing. That's
the real thing.
On Core CLR, on Linux, on Mac, whatever.
Yeah, on Core CLR, exactly. Yeah. So, and there will, obviously there'll be increments, but like I said, we've got betas between now and then, and so various features and elements will light up, blah 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 blah, between now and that date. So we're hoping Beta 7 will actually be a fairly large cross-plat release. We're doing a whole bunch of cross-plat work to light up in the Beta 7 timeline, and then that'll just improve in Beta 8. More things will come online. So that's good.
Will Glimpse work, though?
What's that?
But will Glimpse work?
That's to be determined, yeah.
Yeah, so we're racing as fast as we can to catch up with these guys. And so, we're still working out our scheduling and stuff like that. And some of the debugging and diagnostics hooks are yet to be locked down, and so we're just trying to figure out, where that is, and so we can start, actually hooking into the system. We've been doing all of the base platform for Glimpse and hooking all this sort of stuff up, but things like networking, we're still working on what the final story there is for production and whatever else. But we'd definitely like to have something there at that same time. And so it might be like, hey, I've got 50, servers in a, going hell for leather sort of thing, but we'll have something, I think.
Can I ask? I've talked to both of you guys before about, the versioning and install story. and that there were some challenges you had in terms of making sure that you hit all the different kind of targets and stuff. Is it basically the same in at 5? Do things improve for you, or is it like what's my getting glimpse into my project story?
So we've talked about the fact that with vNext, it would be awesome if we could just have one package that is Glimpse and it just works. Because the final diagnostic story isn't locked down yet, we're not 100% sure what that looks like. So for instance, as some of our concerns are around versioning of packages over time, and does Glimpse have to match that same versioning as classes change or interfaces change, so that we can continue, supporting those different versions. One idea has been that maybe there can be some abstractions between the notifications coming through and us listening to that, and there can be some duck typing there, and so that we don't have to take a concrete dependency on the types within, all of those, 100 or so packages. We can have our own types and we can maintain some version independence, but and package independence. Whether or not that comes to pass, obviously there's complexities with that as well, and the guys are attempting to develop a platform that's going to be good, for the next 15 plus years, and so these decisions, aren't being taken lightly. But I would hope that it doesn't turn out that Glimpse has to have a couple of hundred packages in order to get the level of support that we'd love to get out. And so that's something that hopefully this week, whilst we're up in town, we're going to be ironing out.
Awesome.
So there was one other thing I wanted to quickly chat about. I've been talking about performance a bit in some of the stand-ups, which people love when we talk about that, but I don't know why, maybe because we're all geeks. And so there was a bit of Twitter back and forth conversation going on over the last couple of days between myself and Kelly Summers, or Kellerbyte, on Twitter, and David and Lou and a couple other people.
I apologize. I instigated
that
some.
was your fault, John.
I know.
Your fault. This is what happens when you tell people, here's a concrete slab with some bits of wood on it, go and sleep overnight in it, and then tell us what you thought.
It's part of the value I add.
Yeah, thanks for that. But no, seriously, we were looking at Kelly went off and did some performance tests on Kestrel on Linux, which we had not even, we had barely even got it running on Linux, right? At that point, and lo and behold, it sucked, which is what we all expected. So that resulted in a bit of to and fro on Twitter, and we yesterday I spent a good amount of time replicating those results on our Perfric here, including on Windows and Linux, and we actually came to a lot of discovered a lot of really interesting things. So we were able to verify that we get pretty much the same performance on Windows as we do on Linux, which is good. It's not like we have some massive platform issue. But more to the point, we found a couple of very blocking bugs in Kestrel that were preventing it from being anywhere near ready for doing load testing. There's no point doing a perf test on a system that doesn't work yet. And so, what was that, Scott?
You discovered them? You came upon them? Were they?
Yeah, we came upon them. So one of them, when I ran the test, I was getting things like 2 requests a second. It's yeah, that's probably not right. That doesn't indicate that there's poor code from a performance point of view. That indicates you have a bug. There is a problem here, obviously. And I would, depending on what I ran and what properties I set on the response, it would flip between 2 requests and 200 requests and a couple of thousand requests per second. But none of those are anywhere near what we're expecting. Obviously the lower two, but even 2,000 is abysmal. So what it turned out is we had there's a known stress bug to do with bad handle management. So that we had a pointer that was being GC'd before, and so we get a null ref basically inside the libuv loop in .NET land, which would mean the libuv loop would just die, but the process would keep running. And so the test would start, you'd get a burst of requests, and then the request would just never come back. And the load test tool doesn't know the difference, because it just goes, oh, well, I did 10 seconds of requests, and I average it out, and you got this many per second, even if there was only requests being satisfied in the first half a second. And so we fixed that. That was very easy. It turned out that was a known issue. I didn't know it, but the other developer knew it. Then we finally figured out that there's a bug in Kestrel's Keep Alive implementation, which is affecting the queuing mechanism inside. So basically, it's not able to stretch its legs. We were getting, if I hit it with 8 simultaneous connections and then ask those connections to do requests as fast as they can, I would always get 200 requests a second. Never change. So then I would multiply the 8 by 10 and get 80 connections and have those 80 connections try and go as fast as they can. And guess what? I'd get 2,000 requests per second. So I had an exact linear correlation between the number of TCP sockets and the number of requests per second I could get, which means that there is a queuing bug somewhere inside Kestrel when you're using Keep Alive. If we didn't use Keep Alive, it went straight up to 10,000 requests a second. But without Keep Alive, you very quickly run into a limit because the overhead in establishing a TCP socket and then tearing it down again on every single request is just astronomical. And so, for example, we have a different server which is effectively libuv with the thinnest layer of C# on top possible, and it shares a lot of code with Kestrel, but it's like what if there was no HTTP parsing, it was just a socket server, but we treated it like, oh, some bytes came in, I'll just assume that that's HTTP and send you back an HTTP response. So the idea there being, how can we get the theoretical max upper bound of what a C#-based libuv server on Windows and Linux can do? Okay, if it has to do nothing else except do that. And that gets us hundreds and hundreds of thousands of requests, not real requests, but requests per second. And we found that when we turned off Keep Alive on that server, it dropped from like 160,000 requests a second to 15,000 requests a second. So the overhead of doing Keep Alive or not doing Keep Alive is like a 10 times throughput type of problem. So anyway, long story short, we've got an issue. We're looking at it. We've ordered the new hardware, so we have 10 gigabit Ethernet hardware on its way to us now. Because with some of the servers, we'd already maxed the gigabit NIC, and we have heaps and heaps of CPU to spare. So we have some targets now for Kestrel that we're working towards. Once we get this bug fixed, we now have like an upper bounds and an understanding of the overhead of Keep Alive or not, and those type of things. Yeah, so things are looking good. Things are looking good as a result of that. So I wanted to keep people up to date on that, and I will continue to report back. I'll be super excited when hardware arrives because I get to break things open and put in ridiculously fast network cards and wire up ridiculously expensive cables and do all types of fun stuff like that. And
one question I've always wanted to ask, are those computers actually here?
Yeah, they're right there. You can see them. There's a screen, the Linux machine over there. They're all black at the moment because they're on screensaver, but if you just walk up and hit it, they're there.
Hey, maybe another time, Damien, you could use the zoom feature on this really nice camera that we have and zoom us out the door.
Zoom you out the door?
Like, can we see these things?
Maybe it would, well, we
or
could
what about
do that.
the virtual handsome?
We could just walk around with a camera and maybe we could do a over-the-shoulder type thing.
This is a problem to be solved by Zoom.
You need that virtual handsome robot to go over and take a look at
we don't have that.
Actually, let's do that though, Damien. Maybe we'll do a surface-based walk around and you show us.
Yeah, well, after I tweeted all this garbage last night, a number of people said, why don't you have a Twitch stream? We would have loved to have just watched you do this all day. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, it wouldn't just like be sitting down, and it's not like watching a game where you're sitting on one machine. This was literally across 2 or 3 machines and a bunch of whiteboarding and a whole bunch of stuff. So you would actually need a camera person to do it properly.
You could do Periscope or something.
I am on Windows Phone. What's that?
Isn't that like that live video?
I have no idea. Yeah, we could try Periscope. Does that even does Periscope record it?
No idea.
Does it save there? I have no idea.
No,
Probably.
it's not. It's just live, and then when it ends, it ends.
Can you do Hangouts on a phone?
You can watch them later on the phone.
Can you record them on a phone? You can't, right?
For the 6 people that care about Periscope, I'm sure that would be exciting. For the rest of the 12 people that use Google+, we should probably continue to do what we're doing.
Well, if we can figure out a way to do what we're doing now, but with a more mobile camera setup.
I could walk it around the room, right? I mean, just
like just literally lift up the machine and walk around like this.
Why not?
I mean, we could. I mean, we could try it. It won't. The camera won't, and the audio is going to be
awesome. It's going to be at the limits of Wi-Fi, but let's try it sometime.
Maybe someone could walk around with this as well, and to get the audio. Thing on phone. I could just put it inside my head.
We've got the next community stand-up next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm going to be there. Maybe. I mean, I'm going to be in Redmond.
Really?
Yeah, I'll be your cameraman.
Can we do the next community stand-up next? I have OzCon in Portland. Can we do it at 10 again next week instead of 3?
Sure, if you want.
And then we can do the walk around.
Okay. I'll see if we can't put something together.
All right. Shiny. I'll send
Okay.
a thing. Yay! All right, cool. Well, that was lovely.
Smooth. Like butter. Like butter.
Like a big stick of butter.
Like a big stick of deep fried American butter.
All right.
I've got 3 links to share real quick.
Oh,
I'm
links.
sorry.
Sean, drop the remote.
Hang
If
on.
we're still doing it.
Let me. Oh, I didn't see you there, John Calloway. Hello.
Yeah. That's okay. Here I'm zooming way in. You see that?
Thank you.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so on the this is the official post announcing the guys joining the team. So hooray to Nick and Anthony and to us. So there's that. This just went live this morning. Also, one thing that I just wanted to point out, which is cool, it's been around actually for a long time, but I just realized, I saw someone mention it and realized we'd never talked about it. So this is Glenn Condren, who had been on the show a long time ago, but this is something he's run, this reverse package search. So this is, you can see a year ago on GitHub and all that, but basically what it does, let's say I want to search for something like tag helper, right? And then it's going to find me packages, hopefully. I was having some kind of issues, and of course it's going to not find them now.
That's a great demo, John.
This is the worst demo. Scott will fix this in the editing. But basically it finds packages that match the thing.
Yeah, so just to give people some context, it was specifically designed to help with the issue of types in the BCL being refactored into packages. And so what do I have to reference? What package do I have to bring in order to get type X? So you can type like file or directory or culture info into that box, and it'll tell you which package. Certainly things in the reflection namespace have moved around a lot in terms of packages, so it's very useful for things like that.
Yep. Yeah, so here, for instance, I typed in tag helper, and it finds me signatures and stuff for that.
Cool.
So, yep, that's it for me. I just wanted to make sure to point that out. I've seen, over time people keep saying like, oh yeah, I've solved this, or I know about this thing, but I realize we haven't kind of mentioned it there. So there it is.
Yay! Cool. All right. That's cool. So go live November. It's happening.
Yeah, so last thing on that quickly, by this time next week, hope to have the roadmap published up on GitHub. My current plan is to get it up on ASP.NET WAC Home in a markdown file called probably roadmap.md. And then it'll have like a matrix of the various, like when we'll, the various milestones and all type of things like that. And then hopefully we'll have a little bit more detail. Like for example, if you click on Beta 7, it'll tell you the high-level features and things that'll land in Beta 7 and Beta 8 and those type of things. And we'll keep that up to date so people can kind of very quickly look forward and go, oh, okay, well that thing isn't here yet, but it's coming in Beta 8 or whatever it might be. So look for that to land next week.
All right, you ready?
I'm always ready.
Go.